Thank you. This has come at a really opportune time because actually in a month's time, it will be 25 years since I dared to go it alone and set up my first business. A birthday business, so to speak. But I originally started as a chartered surveyor, but found I liked people more than businesses. But it was this little guy that gave me the final push to decide to move and set up my own business. I wanted the flexibility to have a dog, and I'd wanted a dog for ages. And this was well before working from home was a thing. And my husband had said to me, how are you going to work in an office and have a dog? And I said, well, you know, I've been thinking about moving, so I'm going to do it. So I set off on this roller coaster ride of having my own business. And I want to talk to you today about some of the lessons that I've learned and some of the career things that you might want to think about as you ride your own roller coaster. It's the kind of thing I would have liked to have heard about. Social media makes it look so easy, doesn't it? You know, setting up a business. But actually, it took me nearly 3 years before I actually could work in my business full time. I took 3 different contracts, one with PwC, one with a VC, one with a trade union, so all really different, so that I could pay the mortgage, so that I could actually set up my business. So it took a while. And why I'm really passionate about careers and careers development is it's just so difficult to know which kind of direction to take. It's something we're not taught about at school. So you have to kind of make it up as you go along. So I wanted to see if there was a structure and a way to think about your career. So I started my training as a career development coach, and that's really where I've focused for the last kind of 25 years. Helping people think about their different possibilities in different ways. So if you do some self-assessment and you think about testing different things, you can make much better decisions about which way to go. And this is what I started to do. And there's a kind of key area that really struck me. It's around strengths, knowing what your strengths are. Because I think a lot of us at school, we focus on what our weaknesses are, right? And instead of thinking out, what are you really good at? What do you enjoy doing and you're energized by? Because that's what you really need to focus on. And I've had coaching and I've also had lots of training to try and get better at my strengths. So that's one element. The other element is to look at what your values are. So you've got strengths, then you've got values, and what's important to you. So for me, obviously, having flexibility to have a dog, but also it's really important for me to do work that I find is meaningful. And so that's why headhunting, which I moved into after surveying, just didn't feel very worthwhile because I was helping big corporations hire people. And I really like working with people, helping them develop their careers. So that was what gave me meaning. And so for all of you, it will be different as to what your values are. And so that's been a really good kind of thing for me to focus on. Skate to where the puck is going has been a really good piece of advice. Look at what's happening in the future. AI took a lot of my business around CV reviews ages ago. So I've had to pivot several times to kind of stay ahead of the curve. So really worth thinking about, what are you interested in? What are the future trends? I've tried to outsource as many things that I'm rubbish at as possible, bookkeeping being one of them, but also working with great people. I work with really great people and I've worked with them in the past, and it makes a massive difference. Special mention goes to Camilla Arnold, who I wrote a book with called Taking Charge of Your Career. And she passed away a couple of years ago, but we wrote this book together. We had so much fun doing it, and it was a better book because we wrote it together. So do collaborate with people. It's so much more fun. Then another element to think about is your long-term goals. So be thinking about, where do you want to be in the future? I never really thought about this. So I really encourage people to do this. Where do you want to be in a couple of years' time? And think about, what do you need to do now to get there? So before I left my corporate role, I did lots of training that was offered and made sure that I had a mentor and got set up for making that happen. Look at the market. These are kind of key areas. So values, strengths, interests, but also the market. You know, what market do you want to go after if you're setting up a business? I focused on the business school market because just really interested me. MBAs particularly, lots of different nationalities, and every year there's a new lot of MBA students. But funnily enough, they stay the same age, and I got a year older every year, so that was a bit of a downer. I think another thing I would say is try and create a process. So I've created a process that I work through with people where they weight the things that are important to them, and it helps them brainstorm and really focus on the areas where they want to explore and network. And that's been really useful. It's been turned into a course that then my business school clients have used to help their students. I really recommend speaking to people who are doing what you want to do in the future. There have been people that I've met in the past. There's a guy called Nick Williams who wrote a career book years ago, and he really inspired me to write my book, because I thought, well, if he could write it, maybe I could. There have been some dark clouds. One thing I would like to say is if you set up in business very early on, make sure you agree what you're going to do if circumstances change and you decide to go in a different direction. There have been silver linings to these dark clouds, but it would save you a lot of pain if you sort these things out early on. Have a financial cushion, ideally 6 months in the bank, ideally more than that if you can, because funnily enough, organisations don't always pay on time. So that's a really important element. And linked to that is making sure you get paid enough. I did an anonymous survey with 2 guys, 3 women, and I found that the men were charging a third more in my market than the women. So obviously I told my female colleagues and we raised our prices. So really important to make sure that you're paid the right amount. Stay inspired. I have to remind myself why I do what I do and look after my mental health and physical health, because it's a challenging thing running your own business. So that's really important. And then my why is living in Yorkshire, having that flexibility, and doing work that I feel is really meaningful. So I really encourage you to think about your why and keep that in the front of your mind as you ride your own roller coaster. Thank you very much.